Now notice how I'm going down this list here. I first set up my users and groups, then I set up my folder action permissions. Next, I'll set up my release states. Alright? We basically have 3 tiers of security going on in the Author at Library. Our user and group security, which gets you into the software. Our folder action permissions, which allow you to complete tasks in the Author at Library. And then release states. Release states are object level security. So we've got folder level security and then object level security. Alright, remember that release states are flags that we place on our content to help us understand where that content is in our workflow. Alright, so let's go ahead, toggle to groups here, and select executive. By default, executive group is not going to have any security rights to our release states, so we'll need to remember to assign security rights to that group. Now the release state security is similar to those folder action permissions where it controls what a user is allowed to do to that object. Okay, release states are object level security. Now let's say in the draft release state that our executive team is allowed to do pretty much everything. List, read, publish, modify, delete, change, change, change. Alright, now let's also say this is the default release state for any new object that gets created. I'll set my draft release date to the default. Alright, now let's say for any object that is in any other state besides draft, our executive team can only list, read, and publish. Okay, they can look, but they can't touch, basically. Alright, so they can perform tasks on content that's in the draft release state, but once it gets to technical review, they cannot make any changes to that content, nor can they change the release state of objects that are in that state. So I'm going to prohibit them from being able to move an object from technical review back to draft, technical review back to edit review to released, and so on. Okay? Let's go ahead and save these changes here. Hit refresh, and let's log into our library. And we want to be Eddie. And let's go to our working folder. Alright, so I'm going to create a new book now. Let's create that same book again. Month-end summary, and hit OK. And let's make this nice and big here. Notice that by default now that release date is in draft. Alright, and if I open it up, I don't have the read-only banner here, so I can make changes if I like to, add content. We did great. Raises for everyone. Alright, we'll save that and close. Now what's going to happen if I change these release dates now to something other than draft? Let's say technical review. You are about to change the release date on these objects. Press OK to continue. Alright, so now the release date is technical review. And now if I open those objects up, they're now read-only. Alright, I've now put them in a state that I no longer have modify and delete rights to, so now they are basically outside of the executive team's workflow. Eddie could publish this book if he wanted to. He just can't modify the contents of that book. Okay. Alright, so again, when you're first setting up your Author-it library, first apply your license file. Then go through and perform each one of these tasks in order. Set up your users and groups, set up your folder action permissions, and then set up your release dates. Okay, these are your 3 tiers of security that you'll want to set up in the Author-it library. Alright, now once you apply that license file to your library, you're not going to have to ever apply it again. Author-it's always going to remember that license file. It's only if you go back to Author-it and purchase something else or make changes to your licensing, they will give you a new license file and you'll have to apply that new license file to your database. Alright, but otherwise that license file only needs to be applied the one time to your database. So only unless Sales gives you a new license file would you ever need to reapply it. Alright, and that would be for things like, let's say you purchased another module like Author-it Extend or Author-it Localization Manager, or you wanted to add on 3 locales to your Localization Manager. They would give you a new license file. And then if that's the case, you would open up your existing database, go to Security, update licenses, and then perform the same tasks that we've just gone through.